going to love this podcast. This is with a guy that has made me laugh a lot. Now, I grew up in a time when Jamie Kennedy popped hard as fuck when I first got to Hollywood. And he was killing it, doing stuff no one had ever done. The Jamie Kennedy experiment was a game changer. It was like a prank show, but it was on such a bigger level. And it was so funny. It was so clippable, too. Like, I remember they'd pull it out and they'd show it you'd see it at a party. So people would have clips on their DVR. They'd blip, 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 blip. And then everyone knows that I won't bring it up too much, but him and Stu Stone came on my podcast and they had one. I mean, maybe you shouldn't laugh at what you shouldn't laugh at, but they had one of the funniest things I'd ever seen in my entire life. They had a show called Blowing Up that was amazing. But Jamie is Malibu's Most Wanted. Made me laugh in Albuquerque, New Mexico, in a hotel room, hungover, to the point where I sat up in bed, made a coffee, and watched it. It was that funny. Things catch you at the right time. He is a phenomenal actor, and that's what we talk about a lot. We talk a lot about acting. I was very curious about the business of making a movie, of getting a movie sold, of doing a movie, of what it was like acting in a movie, the chances you can take or what you shouldn't take as an actor. And he's got a new movie. It's called Last Call. Jeremy Piven's on it. Jeremy's on the podcast talking a little bit about that. But we talk primarily about this movie, the fun, like the ins and outs, the nuts and bolts about making a movie and starring in a movie and the choices you make. By the way, I didn't even recognize him in this. I thought it was Bradley Cooper. Like, he has long hair and he's jacked, but he's a great guy and a real innovator. He really genuinely is. And I felt very blessed to be able to sit and talk to him about the movie making process and everything that went into it. And I had a great talk. I had a great talk with him, and I think you're gonna like it. Ladies and gentlemen, comedian, actor, producer, guy, fucking Jamie Kennedy.
This is Overcast.
What's up, Bert?
How you doing, buddy?
Been a minute, man. I'm good.
New movie coming out?
Yes, sir. It's Friday.
Holy shit, man. Congrats.
Thanks, buddy. I appreciate it, man.
That's really awesome. So did you shoot this movie during COVID or was it before COVID?
Right before we did it. We wrapped around December of 2019 and then
right at the buzzer.
I know, right at the buzzer.
Jesus. So tell me about the movie, man. I'm really fascinated. I've never really cared much about the actual movie side of this business until recently, like where I started going like, and you've been such a fucking OG in the game to like all aspects of it. So I'm super curious. Like, tell me like, if you can, tell me nuts and bolts of how this movie got made. Because that's one of the things that I don't think enough people know is like, someone takes an idea, they take it to like a studio. What the fuck's a studio? How did the idea get to you? When you got attached, did that make that easier for other people to get attached? Did you getting attached all of a sudden raise the like? I'm curious about all of that, if you don't mind, without spilling too much.
No, of course, man. Thank you, brother. It's interesting though. Before I start, you were never into the movies aspect of this business. But yet, obviously you have a whole movie about your life. It's fascinating that you never thought, like, you never were into the movie part.
I got to be honest with you. I think that it just seemed so unattainable that I remember getting out here doing my first development deal. And I asked this guy, David, talked to him and I said, hey, why do you do television and not movies? And he goes, no one ever makes a movie. And I was like, what? And he's like, television, you actually make television. He's like, you can come up with an idea and make it. He's like, movies take forever. None of them ever get made. No, you never see any of them. And he was like, I don't know. And it was so funny because I thought I'll be into movies is where I'll go. And that one conversation shifted all my perspective. And I was like, oh yeah, I'll just make television. And then I started lowering my expectations of television that I could make, where I'd be like, well, fuck network sitcoms because those are hard. I'll just get into like pilots for cable. I'll do cable pilots. And then it started lowering. And then all of a sudden I was like, and then I'm like 40 and I'm like, well, fuck all of that. I'm just going to do podcasts and stand up because the money. And then it got to a point, I mean, not to tell too much, but I remember Tom did a movie with Mark Wahlberg and Tom Segura. And he was like, yeah, I'm in Atlanta for like a month doing this movie. And I was like, shit, man, you're missing a lot of road dates. He's like, yeah. I said, this movie must pay nice. And he was like, nah. And I was like, what does it pay? And he told me, and I was like, Tom, you make more than that in one show. And he was like, I know, man, movies aren't like it's not where the money is in this business. It is if you do successful, which you have done. But like, so that's why I'm curious, is I'm now interested in the movie aspect side of it.
Sure. Okay. That's awesome. Well, basically it's like this. It's like for this particular movie, it's just like how can I say it? This is a homegrown project. So a guy where I grew up in Philly, a guy in my neighborhood, he wrote a script about kind of my neighborhood. And so it's like a little town called Upper Darby, right outside of Philadelphia. And he became a very successful guy. He was a young athlete in our neighborhood. He was a couple of years younger than me. And when he was a freshman and everybody were seniors, he was the star quarterback, the starting guard, the star pitcher on the high school team. Became very successful. He went to Cornell and he became the starting quarterback for Cornell football. He then became a successful real estate developer, made a lot of money, and he kind of left the neighborhood, but he didn't leave it that far. And then he came back and he loved where we're from. So he wrote the script over the last 5 years. And then he gave it to my friend who I grew up with, who's also in this business, who's a very big stunt guy. And then he gave the script to me. He's like, yo, do you think you would want to play one of these parts? And then I was like, this is awesome. Yeah, I'd love to. And then he made the offer, which was pretty good money. And then, boom, the ball started rolling. So this isn't a unique situation because the movie was made completely independently. But how a studio does it and how, it's like casting and who's this and who gets approved. And this one, it was like, I kind of got involved. And then I don't know who he got next, but then I believe he got Taryn Manning. And then I think that attracted Jeremy. And then we were able to get Bruce Dern. And then Zach McGowan, who's a great actor. He came on, and then Kathy Moriarty, and then Jason James Richter, who's a great actor. So it kind of just snowballed from people knowing each other.
Wow. So when you take a movie like this, how different was it, say, from, and I don't know if this is the right movie to use it as an example, but I assume it is, like Malibu's Most Wanted, which it from the outside looking in seemed like a straight up student. Like you went in, you were like, I'm ready to do a movie, and they're like, what do you? For me, it always sounded like, what do you want to do? And you're like, I got this script. That's what it seemed like to me. Was that a similar? How is that a fair insight on how a movie like Malibu's Most Wanted was made?
Yeah, Malibu's a crazy experience too, because I'm trying to give you the cliff notes. So it's like,
tell me everything. By the way, that movie makes me laugh so fucking hard.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Bert. No, but because you and I, we can have a marathon convo. So I'm trying to give it, because we love details. It's
yeah.
So how did it work? So I was doing stand-up, I was, acting and stuff and doing stand-up, and I had done this character. I'd had this character. Boom, I did my stand-up. And Nick Swartzen, I was playing Tempe, and he was hosting, and another guy was headlining. And he's like, yo, I know you like that character a lot. And we talked about it. And throughout the weekend, I was like, yeah, eventually I want to make this character into a movie. And he's like, oh, that's a good idea. So at the end of the weekend, Nick's like, yo, let's hang out, whatever. Give me your number. That's when we met in the late 90s. And so I just started doing well. I bought a house, and I had a little guest house, and Nick would come over a lot. We'd play video games, we'd hang out. And he was like, yo, I have some ideas for your movie. Boom. He gives me 5 pages and it's fucking gold. And so I'm like, dude, you have to keep fucking writing. He's like, all right, I'll write like when I feel. You know, Nick.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, if I feel it. So every couple of days he'd come over and have 5 or 10 new pages. I was like, so anyway, we started working the script like that. And we ended up getting a rough draft of like, he knew the character, boom. So, and then he wrote within a month and a half, we had a script, which was crazy to have, right? And it was really good. Cut to us trying to make it for 2 years independently. Just producers, Coens had the money, didn't have the money, blah, 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 blah. Falls apart. I ended up getting my show, the Jamie Kennedy Experiment. B-Rad's on that. And then it gets popping again. So Warner Brothers, the producer was very savvy. And he's like, Warner Brothers movies. You know, I've done a couple parts of movies. I was never the star of a movie. But I was like, co-lead. And he's like, let's take a project in. The timing is right.
Yeah.
So everything of this is like not typical, but nothing's really typical in our business, right?
Yeah.
So then I go, he's like, well, what do you want to make? I'm like, well, I got this movie with Nick because Nick has been on the show and it's like about a rapper and he's from Malibu and he's like B-Rad. And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, well, what's this premise? And I'm like, I don't know. He just is like, his parents don't want him to act like that anymore. We go to Warner Brothers. We sit in with the president after 2 meetings. Then we sat with the president at our 3rd meeting. And he's like, this is the movie you want to make. And I was like, yeah. And he's like, you don't have a 3rd act. And I'm like, yeah. And then my producer's like, dude, he's got the #1 news show in the WB. And he's like, great. But you're asking me to greenlight a movie in 8 weeks that doesn't have a 3rd act. And the producer's like, yeah. And I'm like, yeah. And so he's like, all right, I'll call you tomorrow. And it was just, dude, it was just craziness because they said, if you rewrite the script and you do this and you do that and you can get X amount of actors involved, we'll greenlight it. So within 2 weeks, we gave him another draft. Our first big hire was Taye Diggs.
Well, yeah, Taye Diggs is fucking awesome.
Yeah, and then the rest was history. But that's a super, super unique situation because the studio owned the TV show, and the TV show was making noise. And then it was like the producer, Mike Cars, he's brilliant. He knew that was like the window. So he went in, and I was like, hot. So that's one way to do it. Other ways are independent, and then you pick it up. Other ways are development hell. I mean, there's a million ways to do it. It's like I see so many movies that are about to go. I had another movie in 1999 with the killer cast. It was me. It was Scott Conn. It was Paul Walker. It was Jessica Alba. It was Amy Smart. It was even more people. And it was at a movie. It was called, I believe it was at the same company where Van Wilder was. I think it was October Films. And we were 5 weeks out from shooting, and then we lost the funding.
Really?
Yeah, we lost it because it was like, I don't know. It was like a tax credit in Canada.
Oh.
So, I mean, it's very hard to get a movie. I mean, David Tochterman is very correct. But TVs are too. TV, I think, is 95%. I've been told this, by Brad Gray, God rest his soul, Brillstein Gray. I had to deal with him in the late 90s, and he's like, do you understand that TV is 95% failure because of all the steps?
Yeah.
It's like Bert has an idea, then they develop the script, demo tape, pilot, then they reshoot, and it's like then 3 episodes and 6 episodes. It's crazy.
So did you feel like so you do Malibu's Most Wanted, right? And then you go on to do another movie, and I mean, I don't remember, I don't know box office numbers, but for me, Malibu Most Wanted was a fucking success just because it's funny as fuck, right? So then you go to do another movie, And I'm certain at that point you start getting plugged into shit where they're like, yo, Jamie, here's like, I don't even know what money is in movies, but like, here's $5 million. We want you to star in 3 movies or whatever. And then I'm certain that people see you as something that you aren't, and you go, hold on. Was there a time where you felt like your comedic instincts were getting kind of stepped on by notes and by executives?
Oh, totally. It's exactly that. Because how let me try to give you this. How it's like when I remember doing comedy for 4 years straight, like open mics, and like getting like a guest spot slowly on Monday nights at the Improv or a Please Allow at the Comedy Store. I was starting to get those like 5-minute slots.
Yeah.
And then long story short, I started getting acting work, and I started like getting parts in movies where I was like the funny guy in movies. And then but I knew I had this other side. So when I started doing TV, I was like, well, I'm going to show my side of the funny that I know. And because you and I both know that being funny in a movie and TV, it's good, but it's not being like funny in a comedy club. Like if you can make the crowd laugh, especially in a club where it's like tons of comedians, not just your weekend gig where it's just you and 2 other people, then it's a different type of funny. So when I started making my own movies, I started making stuff that, I believe that was like my voice. And Malibu's, it was like made for 15. It made about 33 at the box office, but then it did DVD and stuff. So it made about 76 million in all the revenue. I think it's still in the books for losing 20 million. I don't know how that works. I have a nice back end. I'm still waiting. Nice back end could get me a house in Malibu, like not a huge one, but a nice one. I'm still in the red somehow, but like you said, it's it worked. The community loved it. People loved it. So I was able to get more stuff. But as I did it, I sold 2 other projects to Warner Brothers, and they were kind of in development, and I never got them going. And then I started getting another movie or 2. But it was a minute where I could kind of say anything and get away with it. But the notes start coming in. You have to make like 100 mil to basically, your movies have to make like 100 mil for you not to get notes, I think, or like 85.
God,
but it's cool. I had executives that were pretty cool. I had this Greg Silverman. He's an amazing guy. He really helped me a lot. And he was all dude. We had a testing, and I was like, we were cutting the film, and I was like, you got to keep this joke in. And I forget what joke it was. And he's like, it doesn't work. And I was like, dude, I know it works. I've done it in the club. And he's like, I don't know if I like it. And he's like, all right, we'll test it. And we tested it, and it killed. And he's like, all right, man, you can keep it in. He's like, I'm glad you fought for that. So he's a reasonable guy, and that's hard to find.
Now, what is it like? I wouldn't say I'm difficult to work with.
No, you're not.
I'm Wait. Like, if you put me on the set of like a host-driven reality show, I can be a little bit bothersome because I've done so much of it that a lot of times you're getting young. That's not the place where people stay in this business, is directing host-driven reality shows. But talent does, but directors, cameramen, that's always like their first gig. Then they grow into something else. So you're dealing with these young kids who, a lot of times, the network or the production company will give them a literally 8 pages a shot list of, I need this shot, and so there's no creativity in it. There's no like, it's like, Bert, I need you to take a bite of that hot dog. All right. And I want to get some listening shots. And it's like shit where I go, I'm not doing any of that. And so
I get that, like when you do when you do the publicity shots and like, give us one where you're like, wacky. It's like, please stop. It's that, right?
I don't have that. I'm not very patient, I should say. But like, I know for a fact that I was given an opportunity with no director whatsoever to do a show. and it was absolutely not what the network wanted. And I thought it was so funny, but the network was like, I mean, they buried it. They were like, it was dirty. It wasn't right for the brand. It was so not good for them. But do you find like, so when you do this new movie, Last Call, when you do this, are you careful not to get in your own way, to go like, listen, I've seen bad habits that I have had, or I've seen times where I didn't listen, or maybe I should have listened, or I listened too much. Now that I'm doing this, and this is a, grassroots project that we're making, do you find yourself treating it differently than you would say, like just a day thing on Scream, or like a 3-day, like a small, does that make sense?
Yeah, like this one was so homegrown, and I knew a lot of the people involved, and like I'd worked with Taryn a while ago, and I worked with Jeremy, and I knew a lot of the players. So on this one, I felt like I could do whatever I wanted. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there is that stuff when you're making a lower budget or a newer budget, like that. The producers, a couple of them were my friends, so they trusted me because I had more experience. So, and the director, we really, we could really try stuff. And he was like, all right. And I'm like, he would be like, let's, instead of doing 3 shots, we could do it all, get it all in this one shot, So this was a really chill set. Everybody was great. We had Bruce Dern for 2 days, absolute Mount Rushmore legend. And we wanted to make sure like we got him and shot him out. So this was chill. But like in terms of what you're saying, of like, it's crazy because if you have your own ideas, like you're saying, and like you were saying, like, oh, there's certain stuff you don't want to do. It's you just know what you're doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's why I love doing this. I think this is why we all love our own, being in charge of our own little worlds. But yeah, I always think good actors should, be seen and not heard. You kind of show up, you do your thing, and you kind of sit there and wait to be activated again. And then as you get older, you start, learning stuff. It's not that your patient you just know what you're doing. So you have to kind of be aware. But so that's why you have to kind of work with people at the kind of a similar experience level with you. And I know when you do work with people that are different, it's like, okay, you already see what's going to happen and how you can shoot something in 5 shots. You can shoot it in 1 shot. So I think that at the end of the day, it's like you kind of, I've also had times where I've done stuff and it hasn't worked for me. And, I get humbled. So then I'm like, I become the humble guy. But at the end of the day, I don't know. I think what we do is like the sandbox, man. We should be able to do what we want. It's creative. And I've seen so many fights, dude, so many people. I'm not going to air it out. Like I've seen amazing stuff and you never hear about it because it's a creative world. But now everybody snitches. You know what I mean?
Snitching is like crazy to me.
And I don't mean that. And I don't mean like they like hide bad habits. I mean, you're going to fight creatively. People are going to fight. Big stars are going to fight big directors or whatever. And it's okay. But now it's like, that's worth more than the project sometimes in terms of like the gossip.
This podcast is brought to you by Liquid IV. I love hydration. I love sweating more than anything. In order to sweat, you need to be hydrated. That's why I love Liquid IV. Before a workout, it's super easy. You just literally pour it into your water, and they've got lemon, lime, acacia berry, passion fruit, guava, watermelon, apple pie, strawberry. And it gives you the 5 essential vitamins you need. More vitamin C than the average orange, potassium more than a banana, and they're healthier than those sugary sports drinks. No artificial flavorings, no preservatives, less sugar than an apple, made with clean ingredients, non-GMO, gluten-free, dairy-free, soy-free. It's the perfect balance if you're trying to hydrate quickly and feel more effective than just water alone. Get your Liquid IV in bulk nationwide at Costco, or 25% off when you go to liquidiv.com and use the code BIRD at checkout. That's 25% off anything you order when you get better hydration today using the promo code BIRD at liquidiv.com.
Think about everything you learned about getting healthy. There's a lot of contradictory information out there and things that are a little old-fashioned, like the food pyramid. They don't help much at all. Here's the deal. I'm in a weird category right now. I am in Serbia. I am getting in shape to do a movie because I'm doing certain things in the movie that I need to be healthy and strong for, but I'm not supposed to lose any weight. So for me, it's a lot of just kind of learning new ways to eat. That's why I'm using Noom. Noom was like, literally, I feel better. I'm enjoying exercises. I'm fitting in my clothes better. My waist smaller. My chest is smaller, but stronger. My shoulders and arms gain an inch, but my belly is still the same. I am the worst example of a guy that should talk about this product. However, I'm telling you right now, I feel good about what I'm eating, and I feel my self-worth feels amazing. I love working out, and it's all about knowing what's going into my body and kind of doing it with ease. It's 10 minutes a day, and that's all you got to do. Log your food. It's nice to see your chart and your progress. Here's the deal. There's a lot of science to getting healthier, and the science is called Noom. Sign up for your trial at Noom.com/Bertcast. That's NOOM.com/Bertcast. Learn how to eat again, like I have with Noom. Sign up for your trial. By the way, I don't log my white wines. Sign up for your trial today at Noom.com. That's NOOM.com/Bertcast. Get ready to learn how to live healthier. Sign up for Noom today. NOOM.com/Bertcast.
I try not to take too many stances because all my stances always flip-flop to the other direction one day. And then I'm like, oh, I can't believe I actually said that. But like the one that was leaked was Tom Cruise berating someone over not wearing a mask on set. And I was like, I felt like, why the fuck would you do that to Tom Cruise? Like, he's trying to make sure that this project gets made, that everyone can work. And he loses his shit, like, because you're not wearing a mask. Like, let it, but then immediately people that hate Scientology start going, fuck Tom Cruise. He is an abuser. And then you're like, oh God, I don't want to even get in the middle of this.
Wait, so I thought that what he did was good. It was responsible. This is what I heard.
No. The other side said it was, you do not treat people like that on set. And I was like, no, you actually can. You actually, like, as I'll tell you, as a person, I would much rather, and I've had this happen, I would much rather be berated and belittled and humbled by my boss than fired any day of the week. Being fired sucks so bad. If I fuck up and I do something wrong, please light me up. Please light me up. And if you feel like doing it publicly is going to stop it from happening again, you have all the right to.
Dude, this is what I heard of that story. And I agree with you. Like, dude, Tom Cruise was like the first production out of the gate. So he was like they were like the leader of it, right? To see what a COVID production would be. It's a super highly expensive project. I heard he risked some of his own money, and they had like a crew, I don't know, hundreds of people that wanted to work. So like one un-COVID protocol thing shuts it all down. So that means nobody eats. And then Hollywood looks to it as like this leader and going, yo, if this doesn't work, what's going to work? So I think there was a lot of pressure there. And he was just saying fucking follow protocol. And he did it publicly. I don't understand how that was bad. He didn't like say, hey, John, you're a bad person. He was like, just fucking do it. No one even got fired.
Yeah, that's what I said. I was like,
no one got fired.
Yeah. But definitely the person that recorded it, the person that recorded it was like, time to put Tom Cruise on blast.
Dude, and you know what? I bet that person recorded it doesn't work on sets. I bet that person's never been in a $150 million movie with stunts that are death-defying, with a fucking major super legacy star. I mean, come on, man. The pressure's fucking insane.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny because we're in a world where it's like, I wouldn't say hindsight, but the Monday morning quarterback of the way we behaved. And you were front row to it because that was your scene, was like the Paris Hilton scene, and people were lighting her up left and right. I said this to someone the other day, for whatever fucking reason, when I came out to Hollywood, I was fascinated by Paris and Nikki Hilton. I had never seen something like that. You know, going to school in Tallahassee and growing up in Tampa, the idea that there were socialites, that was like, I thought it was cool. And it wasn't a popular opinion at the time, so I didn't really share it, but I thought it was really neat. And I thought, like, I don't know, I just thought it was neat. So I never really like trashed her. And I thought when she went to prison and had a meltdown, I actually was like, I'd been locked in a cell on accident when I was a kid and they couldn't open it. And I had a fucking meltdown as a kid. It was like on a field trip. I had a fucking meltdown, like a panic attack. So I empathized with her. I empathized with a lot of all that shit. Britney Spears, I went and saw Britney live with my sisters in like, probably 99, maybe 90, 99, 98, 2000. It was one of the greatest shows I've ever seen in my entire life. I've been a Britney Spears fan forever. But it's funny, is people lit those women up aggressively. And now there's a comeuppance about it where everyone's like, how dare David Letterman? And I'm like, wait. I think you forget, and I say this as an outsider, everyone was destroying these. Everyone was greenlighting these jokes. No, it wasn't just David Letterman, Sarah Silverman. The world was attacking Paris Hilton. And you were there. You were literally front row watching it all happen. It must have been odd to see that kind of happening in like your friends. Now, I know you guys weren't like best friends or anything, but in a friend circle of like, holy shit, man, she's a person. I actually know her.
Yeah, I think that I think Paris was very, very misunderstood by the press. I think Lindsay was too. And Brittany obviously definitely was. It's like, dude, you said it perfectly. It's like you said, it wasn't just comedians, making jokes or network TV hosts making jokes. It was people greenlighting them and magazines writing about it. And this was the birth of, TMZ, which I'm cool with TMZ, but, they weren't exactly polite when they're following you and asking you stuff in a bush. And then there was X17 online and Radar. And I mean, Hollywood, I think Uncensored, just like it went from like, yo, your agent has an interview for you. You're going to go to Kiss FM and you're going to do Ryan Seacrest for an hour. And it's just going to be you and him in the studio. And then after that, you're going to go to Burbank and you're going to go and do Jay Leno's show to promote your movie. And you'll do some newspaper phoners in the day. Okay, cool. And then you're done. You do that for 3 weeks and you're done. It went from that to you're leaving Ryan Seacrest. There was never even any cameras, dude. When you're in the audio, it was just audio, right? From you going and you're at Earth Cafe and you're leaving, the guy's like, yo, so let me ask you a question. We saw you last night and you were coming out of Katsuya. It's like that whole phenomenon was the early aughts of like video cameras and questions that you were like, yo, how'd you know that about, my mother's, like underwear drawer? What'd you, it's like, so it was kind of like shocking. And obviously if you're, pretty young ingenue and, actress, socialite, whatever, it's sold. Their lives sold. And, yeah, man, they went hard on them and it wasn't, you have to look at that's such a big fish to fry, but the culture was consuming it. And it is, these people are people. Paris is a sweet person. Lindsay's a sweet person.
Lindsay got the biggest end of that shit stick out of all of them.
Yeah, I mean, like, dude, it's such a many-feathered bird in the sense, like, I feel terrible when I see that Letterman interview. That was terrible. But, Letterman's also a great comedian. He went too far, But what about the producers, like you said, that okayed the jokes? And then what about the audience that laughed? But, it's like, but it was too much, But does that mean that Letterman should be canceled? I mean, he's not, no. But does Lindsay need an apology? Yeah, but I mean, it's so much. But yeah, it's intense, man.
Yeah, it really is. It's interesting because
dude, what do you think is gonna happen? Like, like we have jokes that have gone too far, and it's like, okay,
don't get me started.
No, I know, but if we go, I'm looking at back and stuff. It's just like, especially we're just gonna have to say sorry I ever did a joke. I mean, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
no, because what you're saying is right. Like that's too far. Like roasting people to roast them is not right. But
it was so hot at the time.
Like, I know.
It was so hot.
But what about TMZ? TMZ do roast people every week.
Oh, destroys people. I remember watching. I remember watching the first roast joke I ever saw, and this is like, I'm just being very real about my reaction. Was Jeff Ross, and I only say Jeff because he was the best at roasting, but it was like the first roast, and I don't mean to like call him out. And if this joke's wrong and Jeff wants to say that he never said this, he can, whatever. It was Jeff Ross, and he said Abe Vigoda's here. It was, I didn't even know who Abe Vigoda was. Like, I was just like, Abe Vigoda. And he goes, Abe Vigoda sold, I wouldn't fuck him with B. Arthur's dick, or something like that. And then the camera cut to B. Arthur, who was not laughing. And it was so funny because B. Arthur was like, what the fuck did he just say? But it was such an aggressive joke, like that something, I forget what the joke was. I wouldn't fuck her with B. Arthur's dick. And it just cut to B. Arthur, and she was like, huh? And you know, that was the sense of humor at the time was like, oh shit, you got away with it, you know? And you look back at, like, I look back at jokes I've told. I mean, someone wanted to buy my Comfortably Dumb, my first special, and they were like, someone offered to buy it and then stream it, and I was like, I'm gonna pass.
Really?
I think I'm gonna let that one sit. I was like, I don't need the optics on that album. I didn't write that thinking people would listen to it fucking 15 years from now.
Dissecting it. Wait, what are you? I know I have jokes too that I'm like, oh boy, if they're dissected, you know, I mean, like, but they could do that with anything, right? Obviously, you know this.
Yeah, they go through
pioneers.
Well, here's what I was actually just on a jog this morning. I was listening to Bruce talk to the 85 South guys. If you ever get a chance to do 85 South and you're in Atlanta, one of my favorite podcasts. It's so fucking fun, and it's so right up your alley. It so is.
I love it.
And so they were talking to Bruce about the same question about, like, what do you think about? He goes, there's jokes I don't make anymore that I made in the past. He's like I don't talk about homosexuals really. And he's like, you know, I make a few, but I was listening to him talk about it, and I thought, here's the difference, is that I think we all know this. On stage, like if you're on stage, crowds will pretty much go along with you. Like when you're doing it on stage, and people, I haven't run into people not letting you take your shot, and I still say pretty aggressive. I still to this day say pretty aggressive things on stage. Sometimes the fucking joke is to say the most inappropriate things. The thing that you don't.
It's called shock.
Yeah, the thing that's the funniest joke is when the thing that you don't expect to hear is said. That makes you laugh. And
100%.
And here's the risk we run is that sometimes, and I think it's because I'm debating this, but I think because we're out, I know I am talking so much that in an interview, people can go, he was being serious. And like on a podcast, they go, oh, Bert was being serious. And I know they've done that to Bill. I've seen them do that to Bill Burr and I've seen Bill say, I don't even want to say anything about it because they're going to take what I say and misconstrue it, and it's not going to be what I said. But here's what I think. And they did exactly fucking that, because that line gets 1 million clicks, and that's how they make money. And so I was like, I think the thing is we can still say what we want to say on stage, on specials, in movies. I mean, I don't think anyone's going to stop writing racist characters in movies from the 50s because they don't want to get canceled because that guy's going to be a white guy saying the N-word. But I think what's happening is it's just in these podcasts, the industry doesn't have a finger in this. So when you look at the reason they've been going after Joe so hard is that Joe for the longest time had no one to answer to, and they couldn't get their claws in him. They'd have a movie and they'd say, hey, Joe, and he wouldn't take their call. And they'd be like, well, we're trying to promote this movie. You're the biggest thing out there. And that makes people feel helpless, I think, at times. And it makes people want to destroy the thing that's succeeding without them. And I think the easiest way to do it is go look at it and go, fuck these podcasts. It's not traditional radio. That's where we make our money. If we can go through and cancel them for doing this thing they do and make money around the way, then let's do that. I think that's what's going on. But
you think that since they can't get their hand in the sandbox and they can't get their hand in the cookie jar, they want to fucking break the jar?
I think that, yeah. You look at like Clear Channel, iHeartMedia, all those places, the business model is so fucking broken. I mean, what I make in one read, a DJ makes. So like if I make, let's say, hypothetically speaking, say I make $10,000 for a read, which I don't, but I'm saying, what if I made $10,000? I get all that $10,000. In iHeartMedia, that $10,000 goes to the company, and then the DJ makes $50 for doing that read. And so that business model is flipped upside down. And the reason is that all those guys and all those fucking corner offices want to make sure they keep their money. So then when Universal's like, hey man, we got a project, they're like, don't worry, we got you. We're a bunch of corner offices that want to make sure we keep our corner offices. And then when you look at Rogan, he's like, oh, I don't have a corner office. I have a compound with an archery setup and a jujitsu mat and weights and a sauna. And I'm smoking weed with Elon Musk talking about artificial intelligence. They're like, hold on, that's not the business model we set up. I mean, I don't know. That's my speculation. But also I think there's a lot of kids, the younger generation, it's just what happens all the time. Is like the younger generation looks at the older generation and they're like, it's our turn. Fuck these old people. And they're like, what did you call? What pronoun did you use? Oh, fuck. Well, let's get rid of this guy.
Yeah. And I think it's disruption too of what you're saying in terms of media is happening so good. There's no middleman. That's what I love about this. And that's what I loved about this movie. It was pretty much making the movie the way you want to make it, within the confines of the SAG rules, but everything else was like how we're going to do it. It was all hands on. And there's a lot of, like you said, log jam in our business. A lot of people just taken from different pots that like, what do you do? So it's much more leaner and meaner this way, but it's more effective.
I think what's interesting for you, and I'll say this for you, is you've such a wealth of experience and such a resume, for lack of a better word, but really just like a catalog of shit you've done that has made people laugh. So much of it that I would argue to say that in your formative years, those notes, those people above you, all those notes were needed, and you paid attention and you listened and you learned. And that's why I'm excited for this movie, because now when you get to this place with the cast that you've got, that's all those people that have basically been through a master's class of making movies. So when you set them off to do it on their own, that's when I think you get a smash hit, is when you go, hey man, we're just going to do our own thing. And it really is, like you say, it's akin to podcasting, is that, Tom Segura and I got approached a number of times to do TV shows together once under the Man Show moniker, once under these monikers, but we had already passed that part where their notes would have helped us. It would have hindered us. And then we do Two Bears, One Cave. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, why would we ever do television with this form? We could just do it this way. It's just more organic. And I think that's what's, like I said, that's what's going to be cool about your movie is you got some fucking bangers in it.
This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Blue Chew. Say it with us. Blue Chew. Blue Chew is making waves and bringing more confidence to the bedroom by offering chewable tablets that can help men get stronger and longer lasting erections. Blue Chew is a unique online service that delivers the same active ingredients as Viagra and Cialis, but in chewable form and at a fraction of the cost. Blue Chew's tablets help men achieve harder, stronger erections, all to combat all forms of ED. Blue Chew is an online prescription service, so no doctor visits, no doctor offices, no awkward conversations, no waiting in line at a pharmacy. Oh my God. It ships directly to your door in a discreet package. Process is simple. Sign up at bluechew.com, consult one of their licensed medical providers. And once you're approved, you're going to receive your prescription within days. The best part, it's all done online. Blue Chew's licensed medical providers work with you to find the right ingredient and the right strength for your prescription. Don't like swallowing pills? Perfect. No swallowing here. No problems. You got to chew it and then you swallow it. But Blue Chew's sildenafil and tadalafil tablets are chewable. Blue Chew's tablets are made in the USA. They prepared and shipped direct, so cheaper than a pharmacy. So if you could benefit from extra confidence when it's time to perform, visit bluechew.com for more details and important safety information. Try Blue Chew for free when you use the promo code BERT at checkout. Just pay $5 shipping. That's bluechew.com, promo code BERT to receive your first month for free. We'd like to thank Blue Chew for sponsoring this podcast. When it comes to paying off debt, it can feel like an uphill battle. You do not have to say that to me. My wife, Leanne Kreischer, was so much in debt when we got married. I felt like we would never get out of that debt. I mean, I just felt like, you'd wake up thinking about it. High interest rates resulting in a minimum monthly payment that keeps in an endless cycle of debt. Upstart can help you get ahead. Upstart is the fast and easy way to pay off your debt with a personal loan all online. Whether it's paying off credit cards, consolidating high interest debts, or funding personal expenses, over 500,000 people have used Upstart to get simple, fixed monthly payments. Unlike other lenders, Upstart looks at more than just your credit score, like your income and employment history. This means that they can offer smarter rates with trusted partners. With a 5-minute online rate check, you can see your rate up front for loans between $1,000 to $50,000. Holy God, for real? You can receive funds as fast as one business day after accepting your loans. Find out how Upstart can lower your monthly payment today when you go to upstart.com/Bert. That's upstart.com/Bert. Don't forget to use our URL code to let them know we sent you. Loan amounts will be determined based on your credit, income, and certain other information provided in your loan application. Go to upstart.com/Bert.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it's like, dude, I mean, Bruce Dern, bro.
Dude.
We got to do, we were improvising with him. Like he's an amazing improver. We're all just sitting around in a bar just because we're like talking about all these different, like, there's a scene in the movie, I don't want to say it, but it's like a sex acts. And so we were like improvising and I was like, well, rusty trombone. And he's like, a trombone? Well, why the hell is it rusty? Like he actually, I don't think ever heard of that. And he was like, what the fuck? And he was going with it. And it's like, just like you said, like the director trusted us. And I think that's the projects that I like, and I'm sure that you like, it's usually you hire people for what they're good at and you let them go. Like, that's what I always heard, like good directors hire good actors, good DPs, good cinematographers. You know, you got to let people, you got to empower them.
Yeah.
And the notes are hard, man. I mean, they are effective sometimes, but I'll never forget. I worked on this movie and I did a joke 25 times in a club and I watched it kill. And then I got it in a movie and the executive is like, nah, it's not funny. And I'm like, it has beta testing behind it. It worked in Dayton. You know, and that's what's hard because they're operating in their own little bubble and we're not. We're out there.
Oh yeah, I wholeheartedly agree, and I wonder. So just out of curiosity, when you do like a scene, say with Bruce Dern, where you're improvising, but you have a script, how does that work as an actor? Like, do you? And I've acted and stuff, but I'm a very timid actor in that I usually say what they wrote on the page, and then I feel like guys like you and Mike Epps are guys that are so much a wealth of already, like those are my two examples, are you and Mike Epps. Is that you guys are both comics, but you're also really great actors. And I'm telling you, man, it's really hard to straddle that line of being, I actually was thinking of this the other day. I was like, Pete Davidson did it. He's a great actor, like great actor. Amy Schumer did it. She's a great actor. Mike Birbiglia, he's a great actor and great comic. I mean, great comic and great actor. I was doing the list and I was like, even some of the greats, and I won't say names, some of the greatest comics in the world, you see them in a movie and you're like, are you just doing your act? Like I'm not going to shit on anyone, but some comics, I remember their first movie out, you're like, you don't feel like very comfortable in front of that camera. But like you guys are Mike Epps, the first time I ever saw him, he was in that movie where he won $1 million on a scratch-off ticket or something. I forget the name of the movie, but it was with Ice Cube.
All About the Benjamins.
Yeah. And man, he looked so comfortable on screen. So it was like he belonged on screen. And I wonder with guys like you and Mike, when you do a scene, you do it first time like on book and then kind of move around a little bit. Like how does that go when you do a scene?
Well, it depends. I mean, like, so this movie, like, it was independent. Like my buddy wrote it. I know a lot of the backstory. It takes place in this part of Philly called Delco, which is you're Tampa.
No, but I grew up. My whole family's from Philly.
You have a Philly almost kind of a Philly accent, but you also have a Baltimore. So it's like you have a little bit of that. So you know that area and how Baltimore is its own world. And if you really haven't been there, you don't know. So is Philly. Delco parts. Philly's its own world.
Yes.
And so I was able to put my own stuff in it because I knew it. And so they encouraged it. The director was great. He was also a Philly head. And we would use like a term like hammers. You know what hammers are?
No.
Hammers are what people call metalheads, but we call them hammer fucking heads because they were always like this, like hammered. And so we put that in. Now that's like a Delco term, but I thought everyone knew it. Fucking hammerhead jump me. You know what getting jumped is? Like you get jumped.
God, man, your Philly accent just came out so strong. Yeah.
It comes out, right? He's like, I was having a fucking couple tall boys. These fucking couple hammerheads came out. They fucking jumped me. Took my old fucking Milwaukee. They fucked me up. So it's like that type of thing, right? So I'm going to improvise with that because that's like, I know the area. Now, something like Scream, early in my career, working with all the amazing people I worked with, and I'm the baby on the set, and the script is like ironclad amazing. I just do exactly what's on that paper. Then, because I worked with such cool people like Wes and Kevin Williamson, they were cool with me trying it. They're like, okay, we got it. Let's see what you got. So I was lucky. I was at a young age encouraged to try things by great people. And that kind of freed me up. So I was always like, so then I want to do a guest spot on like CSI Dakota. And I'm like, I'm going to improvise. And they're like, no, man, we got to stick with the story because we got to find this. And then we find the body. Next thing I was like, oh, okay. Like I would improvise a lot.
Yeah.
So but if it's really well written, I'm not going to fuck with it, but they still might encourage it.
That's interesting. That's really interesting. I remember I don't know if I can improvise on an Aaron Sorkin movie. You know what I mean? That's the GOAT right there. So wait, who is on your list? Who's on your list of who you'd like to work with still that you haven't worked with?
I mean, I really think this, people can laugh or whatever, but I've worked with some amazing people. And I think that I would love to be in a part in like a Martin Scorsese movie.
Yeah.
Because he loves like, people that are a little off. I think I'm a little off. He loves people that improvise. Like I've heard some of the best parts of Taxi Driver. I heard Wolf of Wall Street. I heard Goodfellas. There's a lot of improvisation there. And his movies, dude, you could argue Wolf of Wall Street. I think I've heard him. I mean, you could argue that it is an amazing comedy.
Yeah.
Right. You could argue that Goodfellas is almost half a comedy. Right. Like,
yeah.
Right. A Casino. I mean, it's the best type of comedy. And so I believe that he encourages that and he loves funny people and he wants you to do. I mean, I would love to work with him. I love to work with Judd. I'd like to get my hands and, be a bunch of people, just whatever I can do, because it's nice to just, you got to work with people that you go up to, you know what I mean? I got to work with people that are amazing, and then you become better.
It's amazing that Martin Scorsese has made movies that if they turn on, no matter where I am, I just watch the whole thing.
Exactly.
It's insane.
Yeah. It's Mike Fleiss, a great guy, EP, The Bachelor. I've known him forever, and he said that. He said, you want to make a movie that is completely watchable. And you're right. It's like there's something about it that's so just comforting and real. You're so right, dude. You turn it on and you gotta watch it.
Yeah, it's comforting. It's like if I can't put my finger around it, but like it's comforting. It's quotable. When you say that Goodfellas is a comedy, you're right. In a weird way, I've never watched it as like the horrors of what's happening. I've always been like, these characters are so rich, and I mean Joe Pesci, even Casino. Like I watched Casino right before I got into, I was going into a bubble and I was quarantining for 5 days, and I ended up listening to the soundtrack from Casino. That soundtrack's so fucking good. That soundtrack.
Yes.
And you're like, why is it that man can make something that you cannot turn off? Like you just go, I'm here.
It's I don't have the answer. I just feel it's like this something, so you almost feel like you're a fly on the wall. I mean, besides the fact it's just so good, but that's the obvious answer, but it's just like you feel like you feel like it's so real, I believe. Like sometimes when you watch a movie or TV show, and if it feels like it's fake, it's just, we're not into it. But when it's so real, plus it's relatable, those characters, like in Philly, we had guys like that. I mean, they were just hilarious. I mean, dude, Casino, there are some hilarious scenes.
Dude, Casino. I mean, James Woods,
dude,
is amazing. Amazing.
Incredible.
I've watched that scene where they kill Joe Pesci and his brother with a baseball bat. Is one of the most. It's such a hard to watch scene because it's so real. It feels so authentic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That wasn't the comedy part of the movie. I was like, it's really funny. You're like, well, the baseball. I'm like, you're saying that's the fucked up part.
That's the fucked up part where you're like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
So what are you going to do? Like a premiere?
I think they're having some, screening in Philly.
Oh yeah. Well,
two theaters.
If I'm not far off, I'm pretty sure Philly's living it like the virus hasn't hit it. So
I don't know. I mean, I'm not gonna. I don't think we're gonna have a premiere, but they're probably gonna have some screening for sure. Yeah. I won't be there. I'd love to be, but
yeah,
I don't know what. I say it's gonna be in theaters in the red states and VOD in the blue.
That'll be I think it's kind of good timing because everyone's still, the VOD is still paying off because everyone's staying home watching movies. But you're right. There are a lot of places, Florida, and I can only say Philly because every single one of my cousins has not only gotten coronavirus, but didn't say it was a big deal.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. All my cousins, all my boy cousins that are like party age have all gotten coronavirus.
Where's your Philly roots?
Main line, like Bryn Mawr, Malvern.
That's good out there.
Yeah.
Wow, you really that's I know that area very well. That's great out there. So you were Malvern, you were the main line.
Yeah, we actually shot something the other day, me and Tom, with these two younger actors, and the woman there was like, I said, "Where are you from?" She goes, "Oh, Philly." And I said, "Where?" And she goes, "You wouldn't know it." And I said, "Well, try me." She's like, "Radford." And I went, "Oh, I know Radford. Yeah, like wait." She said, "Really?" I said, "My dad went to Malvern." She goes, "Your dad went to Malvern?" I said, "Yeah." She goes, "My dad went to Malvern." I went, "That's crazy." I said, "My dad also went to Villanova." She goes, "My dad went to Villanova." And I went, wait, how old's your dad? And she said 72. I said, my dad's 72. I called my dad. I go, Dad, do you know? And I said her last name. He goes, you mean Dr. Tony? And I was like, I'm sitting with his daughter right here. And he goes, shut up. and then her dad called my dad like 2 days later. And he's like, Al, I heard our kids were acting together. And he's like, yeah, can you believe it? It's a fucking, I always say it's a small world. Like when going and living in a town like Philly and then in a town like Tampa, you don't meet a ton of us in LA. Like if I ever meet anyone from Tampa, I take a couple minutes to go, hey, like, I want to make sure you know that this is a long journey. Like there's a young lady that works in my Starbucks that went to the same high school as my sister. And every time I see her, I want to make sure to make her, I don't want her to feel like I'm just a typical Hollywood asshole who's just walking past her. I want to like take a minute to like go, how's everything going? No auditions, I guess. We've been in quarantine, but yeah, I think it's always interesting.
Who do you think's taking the virus less serious, Philly or Tampa? I think we know the answer.
The what?
The virus less. Come on, dude. Dude, Tampa's got coronavirus even when there's no pandemic. No disrespect. I love it, bro. My home. I go there every year to play that. I love that city.
Tampa is, I mean, I've seen pictures. I see
Moon's
pictures
over Venus, bro. There's still no glass. You know what I'm saying? What is it? Mons Venus?
Mons Venus. Everyone spent their 18th birthday.
Come on, man.
2000 Space Odyssey.
Yeah, man.
Oh, dude. I see pictures on Instagram of my friends with their parents out at dinner. Dad's turning 78 and there's no masks in the restaurant. And you're just like, and that's like, that's 4 months ago before they were giving out vaccines.
Well, here's the thing. So it's like, you know, I don't want to get us in trouble because it's like, what can we say, right? But it's like, I started putting my toe in the water, you know, slowly but surely. And this week I went out of town kind of for the first time and did a show in Gilbert, Arizona. We did an outdoor show and it was a few hundred people. And it wasn't as Arizona wasn't as unmasked as people would think. Yeah. It was more loose than LA. But people aren't eating inside, but they do wait outside with a mask and then they go in and the restaurant's kind of packed with no mask. Because the virus is just going to wait outside until you're done eating. Yeah. And then it's because it's respectful. And but I mean, I went to Top Golf and that was a little scary. But I mean, there was glass between us, but still there was people getting at it. I mean, you know, 805s and, you know, drinking and I mean, so I don't know, but I was far enough away. Yeah. So, but they're like, dude, don't be so paranoid. So I don't know. It's like LA is one way, Arizona is another way. It's good for me to see what's out there, right?
Oh yeah, I've been back and forth. I've done 4 tours during COVID. Where
I know you did the drive-ins though, which were more. That's chiller, but that's
it was everyone was out of their car, kind of tailgating in the back in the behind their cars. It was totally safe. You could be as distant as you wanted. If you want to stay in your car, you could. Most people were definitely respectful and wore masks. If you left their little area, they had it like squared off, like this is your area. Don't leave this area. But it was, you know, it was really interesting to see. And then you'd go to places like I remember going to Arizona, not in, I want to say it was just outside Flagstaff. I forget, but it was more of a red part of Arizona. And I made a joke about, do you remember when you could ... And they're like, we still do it. That virus isn't real. And they cheered. And I was like, oh, fuck. and it's
they actually said it's not real.
They're like, the virus isn't real. The Democrats created it.
And you're like, do you want to comment on it or, you know, keep that paycheck in that area? You're like, ah.
I was like, whatever, guys. I got it. I actually got a Trump flag given to me that night. See, here's the problem with me is that like, I don't really have any, like, I don't have any huge political views. Like I'm not, yeah. I want everyone to be happy. Whatever. I agree. And they gave me a Trump flag and I got so excited. I was like, oh, Trump flag. Like in history, this is going to be something you're going to pull out and people are like, where the fuck did you get that? And so I got the Trump flag.
Hold on to that.
Yeah,
that's going to be like artifact.
Well, what happened is I got fucking busted. So my bus driver's black, and he hated the fact that I had a Trump flag. So I'd put it up anywhere in the bus just to fuck with him. And so busting balls, I come home off the road, and I bring the Trump flag. My daughters are very obviously socially minded. I bring the Trump flag, and I put it on our mantle in our living room. And I'm home. The girls come home for the first time. They're like, Dad. And then they see that and they're like, what is that? And I was like, oh, I'm just a big Trump supporter. And they got fucking livid. I'm just busting balls, right? I get drunk, Jamie. I forget it's on my mantle. I'm watching football and I do an Instagram post just commenting on a football play. And all you see is a huge Trump flag underneath my thing. And I got destroyed in the comments. Destroyed. I knew you were a Trump supporter. You and your fucking shitbag fans. And I was like, first of all, I was like, and then I had to fucking, I didn't even post anything. I just left it up. And then I commented it on Two Bears, One Cave. I was like, anyone who's my fan knows full well that I don't give a fuck about any of that shit. And then secondly, a flag doesn't mean who you voted for. And especially if you're a comedian. And then cut to, I'm telling Segura this story, right? I'm on FaceTime and I'm like, dude, I got this fucking Trump flag and it's still on my mantle. And I cut back and right at our door, I have a red, a Make America Great Again hat. And Segura goes, do you have a Make America Great Again hat? And I was like, fuck. And he's like, Bert, I'm starting to believe that you actually voted for Donald Trump. I go, Isla got it. We were tubing down a river. We were in Alabama. It was the only hat available. Isla bought it. Oh,
no way.
I swear to God.
Trump, yeah. And then you just happen to have that hat.
I have that hat. It's still at my fucking door.
Dude, in Hollywood, you can't even say anything that rhymes with the word Trump.
Yeah.
You can be like, yo, I had the pork rind. It was the rump cut. Trump! It's like, oh.
I am sitting here in Serbia for the next indeterminate amount of time, and I'm missing my family. One of the greatest things I have is my skylight frame. My wife packed one in my bag. It's sitting up in our living room, and I get to see pictures that are posted to that frame that my wife and friends are taking. It makes me feel like I'm not missing out on things. This is a great gift to get your parents, your mom. I set up a skylight frame for my mom and dad. My sisters have one. We have, by the way, I believe in this product so much. I got one for our group of friends called the Campers that we just send campers videos to. It's super easy. It literally sets up in under 60 seconds, and it looks like a real frame, and it adds a beautiful touch to your house. Ours, we have them all over our house because we share them with so many people. And it's like a 10-inch touchscreen frame. You can swipe through the photos when you want. And I love it. They have 100% satisfaction guaranteed. If you don't love it, they're going to offer you a full refund. And that is a guarantee. You will love it. You will love it, especially when you set it up with a bunch of your friends and families. And my parents got one. My sisters have one. Our camper friends have one. And now I have one here that's kind of connected with everyone. Tap a heart button, let you know if you like a video. I don't know. I'm telling you, you're going to love this. Right now, as a special holiday offer, you can get $10 off your purchase of a skylight frame when you go to skylightframes.com and enter the code BERT. That's right. Get $10 off your purchase of a skylight frame. It's so great. You're going to love this. Literally, you just send a picture to all the frames. All the frames have it. And then that's as easy as I can explain this product to you. Go to skylightframes.com. Enter the code BERT. That's SKYLIGHTFRAME.com and enter the code BERT. You may not know this about me. But I am obsessed with lawn care. A happy yard makes me a happy person. Spring is right around the corner. It means it's time to get that lawn on track for you. I know. Last thing anyone needs is another complicated, toxic lawn product. But